Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this lesson, we'll be analyzing the 11th chapter of the first part of the novel Atonement. Okay, so let us begin. So, the dining atmosphere is suffocating, and dinner begins with an awkward silence. Robbie's heart pounds, nervous to be so close to be sitting Cecilia. Paul awkwardly tries to start conversation, and Robbie notices that Paul has a scratch on his face. And Robbie continues the exchange by asking about the weather, and Pirate, who is seated next to him, thinks he is expected to respond but is too petrified to speak. So the superficial awkwardness of the dinner, it conceals the more threatening developments looming underneath or beyond that dinner, something that has gone before it. So Paul's scratch, it further suggests that Lola's scratches came not from her brothers, but from Paul. But nobody questions the mark on Paul, likely because nobody believes the dull, high class Paul to be in any way suspicious. The themes happen to be perspective, guilt, and class. Okay, so next we move on. So Bryony then tells Robbie to leave Pirate alone. Mrs. Tellis asks her daughter to apologize as Robbie's remark was perfectly harmless. Bryony apologizes reluctantly. The conversation turns to the heat, and Leon innocently begins to annoy Cecilia about whether it has caused her to misbehave. Cecilia handles herself calmly, but Bryony speaks threateningly, and Robbie worries that she will give away what she has seen. So Bryony's demonization of Robbie is so out of hand that she pounces on him for making innocent small talk. She has so fully imposed her interpretation of the facts onto reality that she cannot distinguish the most harmless of gestures from the most threatening. Okay, and the themes are very clear over here. Perspective. This is all happening because of the perspective, and this perspective is going to lead towards guilt, and that guilt is going to result in the loss of innocence. And all of this is being relayed to us, would be showed to us that guilt, that lost innocence through stories and literature, and even the perspective also. That would also be highlighted through stories and literature. Okay, so as the conversation moves along, Robbie fantasizes about finding himself alone with Cecilia again. He remembers what happened after he chased Bryony to retrieve the letter. Bryony disappears into the house, and Robbie resolves to follow her and confront Cecilia. He rings the doorbell, and Cecilia answers with the note in her hand. The two go to the library to talk privately. Robbie apologizes for the letter, calling it a mistake, and Cecilia reveals that Bryony has read it. They continue talking, and Cecilia tells him that she has feelings for him that she cannot put to words. Robbie tells her he feels the same way. Robbie comforts her, and the two start to kiss. So, Robbie's memory of his encounter with Cecilia fully dismisses the authenticity of Bryony's suspicions. Interestingly, while circumstances do spiral out of Robbie's control as a result of his mix up with the letters, this lack of control actually leads to a positive outcome, at least in the short term. Robbie's indulgence in fantasy and that fantasy's intersection with reality is what allows the lovers to finally realize, communicate, and consummate their long held feelings for one another. The themes happen to be perspective, class, the unchangeable past, lost innocence, stories, and literature. Now, Robbie and Cecilia begin to touch one another passionately and soon after begin having sex. They are both in awe of the intimacy they experience. Suddenly, Cecilia breaks Robbie's ecstasy by telling him that someone has entered the library. He looks behind him and sees Bryony. He feels a pure, cold hate for the trespassing girl. The lovers put on their clothes, their memory or their moment of intimacy is over. So, from Robbie's perspective, The library encounter is vastly different from what Bryony observed. Bryony has intruded upon a monumental manifestation of love rather than the sinister and evil and ugly assault she believes she has witnessed. Now, Robbie too feels frustration when other individuals ruin his romantic visions. This is similar to Bryony's frustration at the Quincy's for seizing her control over her prey, play. So the themes happen to be the perspective, the unchangeable past, lost innocence, and stories and literature. Now, the narration then fast forwards back to the dinner. Jackson and Pirate whisper to one another and then leave to go to the bathroom. As they leave, Bryony notices that the two are wearing her socks and screeches at them. Cecilia calls Bryony a tiresome little prima donna. Prima donna is a very temperamental person with an inflated view of their own talent or importance, and explains that she took some of Bryony's socks when she noticed the boys don't have enough clean pairs of socks. So Bryony feels betrayed by Cecilia, by the one she only longed to protect. So she's thinking that she's trying to protect Cecilia from Robbie because she has a completely different perspective of what's going on. And when Cecilia is reprimanding Bryony for the way she talked to the brothers, she feels that she's being betrayed. That when she is trying to protect Cecilia, how come Cecilia can act in that manner? So again, Bryony's carefully crafted perception of reality is broken when Cecilia shows that she is fed up with Bryony's nosiness rather than grateful for her protection. Yet the feelings of abandonment Bryony has here only cause her to withdraw further into her wrong-handed convictions and displace the blame onto Robbie. So, Bryony says something that suggests she may give away what she saw in the library, and Robbie quickly changes the subject to how well behaved the twins are. Bryony tells him this view is mistaken and points out the scratches that Lola suffered at their hands. Emily seems shocked by her niece's wounds. Paul volunteers that he saw the twins attacking Lola and had to break up the fight himself. Robbie wonders why Marshall had not brought this up earlier given the extent of Lola's injuries. So Paul's eagerness to blame the twins for Lola's scratches again suggests that he may have played a role in causing Lola's injuries. Still, this far more suspicious behavior receives less scrutiny than Robbie's innocent missteps, simply because nobody at the table's preconceived notions influenced by their relative class depict Paul as a threatening character. Themes self-explanatory, perspective, guilt, and lost innocence. So as the family tends to Lola's wounds, Bryony finds an envelope left on Jackson's seat. Emily demands that she not open the letter. Once her daughter has handed it over, Emily opens it and reads it aloud. It is a note from the twins explaining that they have decided to run away because they miss their home. The group decides to break up into search parties. Robbie is one of the last to mobilize and he feels cheated. He wanted to dance with Cecilia on the grounds that night. And look what the situation is now. So as the others move out to search, Robbie decides to go looking for the twins alone. And this decision, as he was to acknowledge many times, transformed his life. It turns out that even the twins are too autonomous to be controlled by any of the other characters. Their choice to run away is unexpected to everyone, even the reader. This serves as a reminder that the narrative of the book itself is incomplete and leaves readers open to surprises that overthrow their expectations. When things are happening against the expectations of the audience, then why can't the main characters understand that? With this, we're going to end this lesson. Feel free to ask any questions. Thank you.